Hi, it is I, the guy. We've had the iPad Pro here in the office since May of 2021, and since then I've pretty much kept it to myself, trying to use it as my main working machine every day. Over the past 6 months, I've written dozens of articles on it, edited photos, edited videos, and I've even taken it on stage with me as my main guitar processing unit and lyrics prompt all at the same, which is pretty awesome. Now, in this video I'm gonna try to answer some common questions, and we are going to try to have them timestamped here. These are: can I use the iPad Pro as my main working machine? Should I get the 12.9-inch model or the 11-inch model? Is the Liquid Retina XDR display a big deal? And is the Magic Keyboard worth buying? So, can I use the iPad Pro as my main machine? Yep, in my original video review I said that I use it almost exclusively for my work at PhoneArena, and I actually enjoy using it very much. It's very snappy and fast, the screen is pretty, the Magic Keyboard works great, the speakers sound awesome, and the battery life is just phenomenal. As you probably know, even with split view and slide over, iPadOS is still not great for multitasking, but this has kind of helped me. The iPad's philosophy of always having one big thing on your screen helps me stay focused on my work document. And guess what? If you wrote to me and sent me a funny YouTube meme compilation while I'm working, no thanks, I'm ignoring that. Clicking on that would just cause my windows to pop around, slide over, and mess everything up. No thanks, maybe in an hour. I realize it's a bit weird to defend an operating system for its shortcoming, but I also kind of see what Apple was trying to achieve with the iPadOS workflow and why it refuses to make it more like macOS. There is some value in this one app at a time mentality, provided the apps you're using work well, they have super comfortable UIs, and a big enough sandbox with lots of features so you wouldn't actually need to swipe around for different apps. For example, for video editing we have LumaFusion or VideoLeap, which are great apps that have everything you need in them. You can just focus on your work and the M1 chip takes care of the rest. On the other hand, for music production we don't have that many plugins that can fit inside a single DAW for that same working environment. So you constantly have to switch between apps for your synths, your compressors, and your guitar effects and your audio sources. It's not great yet, it has the capacity and the potential to be great, but it's not there yet. Audio workflow on the iPad Pro needs a rethinking. Let's tone it down a notch. How about just regular everyday work? I can pretty much be confident that I can take this anywhere and be able to do my PhoneArena.com work on it. With a small caveat. Let's say 100% of the time it works most of the time. The Magic Keyboard feels great for typing, websites open blazing fast. In fact, some super heavy websites that absolutely kill my 2017 MacBook Pro work perfectly fine on this iPad Pro. It's really cool that Safari on iPadOS now asks websites to give it the desktop version of the website. Even when I receive emails from two-factor authentication, those websites say that I am on macOS, not iOS. But even then, I still run into some snags. There are still some very weird bugs sometimes. Drop-down menus just don't work as they're supposed to. Granted, I do believe that most of these issues are on the website developers to test against, specifically for iPadOS, because other websites, most websites, work perfectly fine. But my point is, if I want to log into specific places to do specific work, I need my laptop. Or, bottom line, this can be a great laptop replacement for those that have a main machine like a desktop nearby to always go to if they need it. If you already have a main machine at home or at the office and are looking for a portable device to do generic work on, the iPad Pro will probably work just fine and look cool doing it. Now, on the other hand, if you're the type of person who only has a laptop as their main working device and they don't have a desktop at home or at an office, you can't really replace that with that. Putting work aside though, the iPad Pro still has a lot of entertainment value in it as well. You can play Apple Arcade. I don't play that, but I do play some other games on the App Store, which are also phenomenal. You can use it to stream web shows, of course, and it sounds great with those quad speakers. You can use it for social media, and as I said, it can enhance your specific hobbies. In my case, that's music. And while the 12.9-incher I have here is kind of big and heavy, it still fits many scenarios much better than a laptop would. So it's an expensive toy, but also an expensive work machine, and it kind of excels at both. Now, the other question is, should you get the 12.9-inch model or the smaller 11-inch model? For the whole of 2020, I used the 11-inch iPad Pro, and this year I've been using the 12.9-inch one. And it is my belief that if you're buying an iPad Pro, you probably want to do some work on it, and the bigger model is the way to go. It's not just the actual size of the screen, it's the aspect ratio. See, the 11-inch has a slightly wider aspect ratio, while the 12.9-inch is taller. So if you're looking at big blocks of text, or if you're using split view and slide view, that bigger screen has more room to show content, thanks to the headroom top to bottom. Also, the 12.9-inch's Magic Keyboard is of course bigger, which makes it more comfortable for typing for longer periods of time. There is something to be said about the 11-inch's portability. After using the 12.9-inch for so long, I can definitely say that it's a chunky, heavy boy. So when I pick up the 11-inch, it's super easy to walk around with it in hand and prop it up in every nook and cranny to watch content. However, I can't help but thinking about how the iPad Air 2020 is almost as good as the iPad Pro 11-inch. I feel like if you want portability, you are better off getting an iPad Air and saving a ton of money. Plus, the iPad Air also supports a Magic Keyboard and Apple Pencil too, and it also has a USB-C port. Now, if you really want a 120Hz screen, which yeah, sure, fine, it's awesome, it's smooth, maybe consider an iPad Pro 11-inch from 2020. Yeah, it doesn't have an M1 chip, but trust me, it's still very fast. Now, back to the 2021 iPad Pros. Now, is the Liquid Retina XDR a big deal? You probably thought I was voting the 12.9 over the 11-inch because of the Liquid Retina XDR. No, not really. After months of using the 12.9-inch, when I pick up the iPad Pro 11-inch, I can definitely see that the image is slightly worse, contrast is not as deep, and images are not as defined, but I'm talking really minuscule differences. Also, XDR is not perfect. Yes, it does go completely black on black backgrounds because all the mini LEDs are off, but when there's an object against that black background, you can see a light bloom around it because the zones are on. So it's not as good as AMOLED. Of course, if you're a professional video editor who wants to edit HDR content, yes, the XDR display does that, so there's that, but I'll leave that up to you. Now, is the Magic Keyboard worth buying? The Magic Keyboard is super expensive, but trust me, when I first got my hands on it, it actually made me angry how good it is. Nice deep keys and a very responsive touchpad. Also, if you're considering getting one of the cheaper keyboard with touchpad combos that are out there, I have bad news. Third-party touchpads do work with the iPad Pro, but they work terribly. See, I think iPad OS doesn't read them as touchpads, but there's some translation going on. The third-party touchpad goes, "Hey, I'm a mouse," and then it translates that data to touchpad tracking, and the end result is choppy, jarring, and just bad. And you lose finger gestures like 3-finger swipe up or swipe to change apps and so on. You can, however, get a third-party keyboard and a mouse. Mice work well with the iPad Pro. Fair warning, if you are planning on getting a Magic Keyboard or any type of keyboard cover that does this, get a screen protector. This iPad received 2 very deep scratches during the very first month of use. It hadn't even left my home. I can only assume there was a tiny speck of dust or sand on the keyboard, so when I would close it up, it scratched the screen. Sag. So I immediately went out and got a screen protector. Don't tell my boss. Okay, in general, is the iPad Pro worth buying? I have already outlined that I enjoy using this device. It has enhanced both my work life and my hobbies. But I do have to concede, I did not buy this. The office did. So would I spend 1100 MSRP for the iPad Pro plus 350 for the Magic Keyboard? You know what? Maybe. It would have to be in lieu of a laptop, because I don't have that much money to throw around. So if I get rid of my MacBook Pro, I might get an iPad Pro instead and use my main desktop powerhouse at home for the big tasks. This thing follows me everywhere. I watch videos in bed, I play games on it when I'm away, I edit videos for social media, I do work on it daily. I mean, for the amount of time I spend on it, it's probably worth its money. So I can see myself getting this or saving some money and getting a 2020 iPad Pro, because I personally don't find the Liquid Retina XDR that much of a big deal, and the old processors still have a lot of juice in them. I do like the M1, but the A13Z Bionic was it is also pretty great. On the other hand, a laptop is instantly familiar. It is guaranteed to work and react as a desktop, and there are less hoops to jump through. Yeah, the iPad OS is great, but it's not fully there yet, so I can't 100% recommend that you get this unless you're a bit adventurous and have some money to burn. Anyway, those are my long-term thoughts on the iPad Pro. I've been Press, this is the PhoneArena channel. Subscribe, like, comment below what you think on these machines, and I'll see you next time. Thanks!